Welcome back. Education has been so important in our community, and although we have had an opportunity to identify the failure, we don't see as much of the building of the development that will show progress. I'm here now with Mr. Greg Pronce, who happens to be part of developing a progressive method of eliminating the failure in our community. And his strategy has been very successful. Mr. Pronce has had a number of different relationships in education, and we're very happy to have him on our show. Thank you very much, Mr. Pronce.
Glad to be here.
It's fascinating on how it was that we had met, but it was just unique to find out what you have done in your lifetime and what you are continuing to do. Why don't you share with us some of your history?
Well, I began my career in education, first teaching abroad with an organization called the Yale-China Association, teaching in Hong Kong when it was still a territory of the British government. Then I taught in the independent secondary school, advanced placement history, and was director of college placement and guidance, which was an activity that I really fell in love with, and I've really been doing it the rest of my life in different forms. After that, I went to graduate school, Yale, then worked at Dartmouth College for 20 years, and then became, after that, president of Hampshire College, which is a progressive college founded by Smith, Mount Holyoke, Amherst, and UMass, opened in 1970, to be different. It's an institution that offers, has no departments. It has no grades. It's never required SATs for admissions. Students are admitted on the basis of their story, their vision, their potential, their passion. They design their own education, negotiate contracts with faculty teams, sign the contracts, do the work, and that's how they earn a degree. When Hampshire was founded by the other four institutions, they created 5 Colleges Incorporated, which is an institution that runs joint programs between all 5 institutions. So if you go to Hampshire College with 1,200 students, you have access to almost 3,000 courses a semester because students take courses at any of the 5 institutions without any charge. Free bus system links the 5 institutions. Same computer runs all 5 libraries. So it's like a large super university with 5 institutions. While I was president of Hampshire, and partly because of my work at Dartmouth, I was involved with a program called A Better Chance. That was one of the very early intervention programs founded in response to a request from the Peace Corps. A program that was designed to really fill the pipeline so that our volunteers going abroad in the Peace Corps looked like the countries they were going to, looked like the country they came from, which when it first started they didn't. And Pathways has been extraordinary, A Better Chance has been extraordinarily successful. Right. And under A Better Chance, an organization was created called Pathways to College. And just about that time I became president of Hampshire, was looking for a board member. Had one of my board members knew the president of A Better Chance, so I went to meet her right away, tried to recruit her to come to the Hampshire board. I know what you can do for Hampshire. I gotta find out what I can do for you, get you to come on my board. And the final agreement was that every year she gave Hampshire as a trustee, I would give her a year helping to start a new program under A Better Chance, that instead of Better Chance took kids out of high schools and put them into prep schools. Really? Where they got extraordinary preparation, 24/7. Okay. They had they're 50 years they've been in existence. 96% of A Better Chance students have graduated, have matriculated in college. 96%. 84% have earned BA degrees and higher. Oh, really? That's higher than any demographic group in America. Wow. White or black. Okay. These students all came out of underserved communities, but Judith Griffin, they only maybe could reach 300, 350 students a year. She wanted to reach more. So as president of A Better Chance, she created a second program that instead of taking kids out of high schools, would work in the high schools. Okay. And that's Pathways to College. And that's where you are now. And that's how I became connected to her. She then, that program eventually became independent. Okay. And she served Hampshire College as a trustee for 12 years. So I owed her, as I said, 12 years of indentured servitude. And I'm actually in my 11th year and 8th month.
Really, with the pathways?
With pathways to college.
Let me understand now.
Only 4 more years in my indentured servitude, and then I'm free.
And then you have to worry about what are you going to do next. How is she doing?
She is doing great. I mean, what she has done and what she fairly focused on was what's important is to believe these kids can do it, and to provide the safe place in which they can do it. When you took them out of their communities and put them in prep schools like Choate and Amherst and Choate and Exeter and Andover, places like that, they were in a safe place where they could focus and get all the help they needed. And that program, when A Better Chance began, it simply it ended the conversation, can those people do it? They've proven they can do it.
You think about it now, so you challenged the ability to be able to show this concept actually works. And from the idea of where it manifested in Hampshire College, and it's really one of the more unique campuses that students are institutionalized in, the concept of bringing it into communities that are disparate and have a lack of resources seems to be very challenging. Talk to us about the school you're working in and some of its successes using this program.
We found, the model that we come in, and Miss Griffin was first African American to attend the University of Chicago Lab School.
Oh, really?
John Dewey, the progressive education, the same philosophy that Hampshire was based on. And that philosophy fundamentally says empower the students. So what we try to do in Pathways to College, when we come into a high school, is we pick 100 students, roughly 25 in a class.
Okay, so now do they submit
application?
And how do you choose them?
On the basis of potential, not on performance.
But you may pick every kid then.
We turn very few down.
Okay.
But by applying, they begin to feel they own it.
Okay.
One thing we do when we go into a school, another way we get the students to own it and empower the students.
Yeah.
When we go into a school, we ask the principal to bring together the school student leaders.
Okay.
We describe the program, but before they leave the room, we ask, do they want the program? They all say yes. And they say, well, before you leave, would you do us a favor? Write the name of the teacher who has taught you the most.
Why would you do that? Okay.
Turn the card over.
Yeah.
Write the name of the teacher who makes you feel best about yourself.
Okay.
Now, if we pick up 50 cards, 8 or 9 names jump out. On 50 or 60% of the cards, the same 8 teachers.
Oh.
We go to them and say, will you run the program in the school? We want to hire you. The students immediately feel they've helped create the program.
They're part of it. Right.
They
have an ownership.
They have an ownership.
And you're giving it to them based upon their recommendation.
Now, we ask others, but those are very clear who they want.
That's an ingenious way of
so what we
getting
basically
them
say to
what
we say to the students is, we're going to do everything we can. This is not a remedial program. This is a program that focuses on developing the student's capacity for critical thinking, for expression, oral and written expression, but also for self-advocacy, reflection, analysis, determination, persistence, all the skills that you need to succeed in college. And what we say to the students is, we're going to help you. We take 100 students. We're going to do everything we can to get you into and through college. And we don't believe in tests. We don't push SATs. Our argument is the only measure of college success, the only real measure of college readiness is college success.
Okay.
It's not a test score. It's not a score on an SAT. It's not a score on a high-stakes test. The real measure of college readiness is whether they go to and succeed in college. And we say to the students, we're going to do everything we can to get you through college. Not just into, but through college.
So you follow the child.
We try to follow them. I'll go to that later.
Okay.
But in return, we say, but in return for what we're doing for you 100 students,
right,
your responsibility is to help change your high school.
Okay.
The burden is on you, and we're asking you to help.
So you take recommendations from the students in regard to how they feel they can resolve that issue?
Yeah, how they help. We say, why don't you talk to the teachers and principal, find out where do they need help?
Really?
Why don't we help empower them to do it?
So give me an idea, what have been some of the remedies that the youth come up with?
They can be as simple as, we want to beautify and start recycling.
Okay.
They've gone to a Prince 1 school. This was in New Haven. You know, where do you need help? We need help in trying to think through how to honor some teachers who've retired.
Okay.
Students got involved in how to changes the dynamic between students and teachers. That group of students at one point, we took them to a conference that Yale University was organizing for older adults. They brought together 500 people from the United States to talk about education.
Mm-hmm.
We took 10 of our high school students. They walked into this conference, listened to the plenary session for 2.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
The first, when it opened up for public comment, one of our students got to the microphone. I don't know who he ran over, what he did,
mm-hmm.
but he was at the microphone. And they called on him. And he said, very genuinely, this is incredible. I'm here with 9 of my friends. These are now undergraduates, and this was run by Yale University. He said, we had no idea that you did this. You've been here for 2.5 hours talking about us, and you didn't invite us. It's just silence in the room. Absolute dead silence.
Mm-hmm.
A year later, Yale University had a student panel in this big national conference.
Awesome.
That's
influence.
We don't.
That's the power of influence.
We don't. It isn't the formula.
Right.
Is you look for the opportunities where they can engage.
Right.
In Gary, Indiana. Gary, Indiana has no movie theater.
Okay. And there's a reason for that.
The departure of the steel mills and everything else.
Right.
But as a measure of economic decline, I would argue that a community with no movie theater is probably about as good a measure of economic decline as you could
be
get.
that they got a lot of good cable.
Movies are still a part. Going to the movies is still a part of our culture, socially and everything else. The students, when Selma came out,
right,
we'd like to see it. Where are they going to see it?
What do you mean? That's what I'm saying, though.
There's no movie theater.
Well, maybe the social connection, but there is obviously a cable network.
Selma was first out in the theaters, wasn't in the cable yet.
I see your point.
I mean, so
eventually,
if you want to be a
part
you don't want to be a year behind everything, particularly if you're a teenager.
Cable is for you.
If you're a teenager. So the students came to us and said, how do we see it?
Mm-hmm.
So we started, we bus them out to the suburbs, and we looked at things. But Oprah Winfrey supports Pathways to College. We're one of the 3 charities in the United States she supports.
So you brought that into the conversation for what?
We brought it in because the students said, this is a problem we want to solve.
Okay.
They came to us and said, help us solve it.
Right.
Now, they identified the problem. They didn't necessarily have a solution. They said, we need a solution. So we worked with them. Since Oprah Winfrey supported us and she was involved with the film, Judith Griffin, the president, says, let me approach her organization. They approached Paramount, I think was the producer, and said, would you provide a DVD now?
Oh, wow.
Now that, you have to understand, a DVD for a film that's
out first week published, right?
Is worth billions, probably millions for sure.
Yeah, on the open market, right?
Yeah, I mean, if that got lost or anything.
That's a difference.
They agreed. It was by courier. I mean, we had to practically sign. It was like Fort Knox.
You had to totally control it, though.
We had to control every second.
But they were very supportive.
They were supportive of what we were doing. We took that film. The students organized a program. They hosted it. They ushered. They prepared everything to show the film. They showed it in the schools during the day.
Wow.
And then the students invited the community to come at night. Now, Gary, one of the schools happens to have a spectacular 2,000-seat auditorium.
Right.
The students invited the community through the press.
Yeah.
I think we were certainly lucky. The night of the offering, a blizzard came, and only 2,000 people showed up for the film in the midst of a raging blizzard. If there hadn't been a blizzard, I'm not sure what we would have done. It would have been like the fishes, the loaves and fish.
Well, that was an outstanding opportunity to characterize it.
Now this is a case where the students helped meet a community.
Exactly.
And there were people in the audience who marched in Selma.
Pathways.
Through Pathways to College, and through the Gary schools.
Let's talk a little bit about at home, though. We know that you're in West Side.
Yes.
And there have been some incredible things. I was impressed. I went through West Side today. Now, I mean, I know I've seen where hundreds of kids are standing outdoors and look like they're ready to create a riot. But that's because of the populations in our schools today. So it's nothing to be afraid of. But when I went into the school, I was fascinated over some of the nuances that are occurring. Why don't you share with us the genesis of it?
Well, Pathways basically said we're going to go into the schools and get schools to take us. And Westside and Larry Remkes said, we want this program. And we've come in East Side. We've been in East Side. We've actually been in Wequahic, Barringer, East Side, now West Side, and Arts. Some superintendents have really supported us. Mm-hmm. Others not. The last superintendent we couldn't even meet with her. Mm-hmm. SURF has been very supportive. Mm. They have actually opened up and helped us get to West Side.
Oh, really?
After 5 years of 5 years, we could not meet with the superintendent.
Okay.
We tried, could not meet. Now we've met with the superintendent.
You have an open door.
They've
little functionality.
They're helping us
help
move
you
in
navigate.
There. We're just starting to now in West Side,
right.
But these are incredible students.
Well, tell me, how in the world can you get an institution like a bank open up an actual branch in the school?
I have nothing to do with what Capital One did, but I applaud what they did, and we want to use it as a model. We're actually going to come back to them.
Okay.
But for those who don't know what Capital One did, they have a program, which they do at West Side. They've done it in New York, I think another city. They provide West Side high school students internships in the summer, training them in banking, and those students come back to West Side High School in the winter, and they run a fully functional branch of Capital One Bank.
Do you think this kind of format, in terms of the involvement of careers on that level, could open up a nuance of opportunity for kids?
Absolutely.
Maybe who want to become insurance brokers or
just test. It isn't we're preparing people to be insurance brokers. We're letting students test ideas. We're letting them learn responsibility.
Right.
We're not saying,
well, even in broadcast.
And broadcasting, in digital graphics. Our vision now, we're just beginning to develop this vision, is in effect, we will try to get students to partner with businesses so that, imagine, like Staples is out there.
Do you think a McDonald's would probably work in this school?
Westside has a culinary institute.
Oh, really?
So I would have either, I guess my approach would be, go to McDonald's and you help fund this program, you help make it happen. If not, we'll compete with you. But people will listen.
So there are no limitations.
There are no limitations to the way, if you envision, and if you go back to Dewey, you go back to the kind of progressive education, the idea is you get students to do things they learn by doing, not just by sitting passively.
When we discussed
that's what empowering students
earlier means. About the option of following the student, you encouraged me to understand there may be some opportunities that would involve that relationship, but there are some limitations. Talk to me a little bit about this idea and how can we as parents, as citizens in the community, get behind it?
Well, this idea is a rather broad for a question there, but the first thing we're saying is believe in the students.
Okay.
90% of education is expectation. What Judith Griffin, the core of what Pathways to College does, is we take students, as we said, based on their dreams, not on their performance, on their stories. And our median GPA is usually about 3.0, half or below that, and yet we have 85–90% of our students going to college. Barringer High School, for the 7 years we were there, get my figures right, 86% of all of the students in our program in Barringer for the 7 years we were there matriculated in college. 48%, almost half, earned college degrees. 80% of those degrees were four-year degrees. Now that's,
and I want to check because we are getting a little short on time. But the question I have of that is, what kind of degrees are they really investing in? I mean, where are these degrees? No, not where are these degrees, but what is the
They are degrees.
The most popular expectation of a degree coming from a child in an urban environment.
These degrees are degrees fundamentally that are preparing these students to create the jobs that they'll have in the future. 60%.
Creating the jobs that they're having in the future.
60%.
Share with me. I don't understand that.
This is another, can we come back for another 30 minutes another time? Because this is a this is a very critical issue.
I'm listening.
60% of the jobs the students graduating from college today will fill don't exist today.
True.
So how are we going to prepare them for jobs that don't even exist?
Okay.
The only way to prepare them for the jobs that don't exist, fields that have not been invented, nanotechnologies. I mean, half of my family are in jobs that didn't exist when we were in college. How could we have prepared for the jobs when they didn't exist? Because we didn't know the fields. I mean, I have half of my mentor at Dartmouth College was John Kemeny, who majored in philosophy and mathematics, but his contribution to the world was the computer language basic and time sharing. Those fields, they didn't exist when he was in college. Nobody prepared him for that, except they prepared him to learn, to ask the questions, to solve problems,
to be able to
navigate,
right,
and to think critically. So that the preparation doesn't matter.
So it wasn't about a test.
It isn't about a test.
Your aptitude
and it isn't about a career.
Know.
It is about thinking.
Wow.
The internships. If we have these entrepreneurial opportunities at Westside, it isn't we're preparing them to be insurance salesmen. We're preparing them to learn how to sell, to solve problems, how to plan, how to think through, how to see the future, which is in any field. That's what Pathways tries to do is teach the students what we call real skills, which are the how to dream, how to plan, how to research, how to articulate, advocate. Those are skills. College success, research shows, college success does not correlate with the quality of academic preparation.
Wow.
Does not correlate
with the quality of academic preparation.
It correlates with race, class, and gender. And race, class, and gender correlate with the kind of soft skill, real skill opportunities kids have had in their growing up. And those are what get you through college. What gets you through college is when you run into that professor who doesn't know how to teach, or doesn't care to teach, or doesn't care about you. How do you get around that person? How do you get through that person? How do you advocate for yourself, solve the problem? That's the persistence, the resilience, the planning. That's what gets college degrees, not whether you can take an SAT score.
Let me ask you, how do we get behind what you're doing and help it to become even more beneficial for the...
Well, you're helping by having me here talking about it in part. Right. But I think, I mean, we're going to be talking to businesses about these partnerships. We're going to be, but I think in the end, the most important thing are for parents to be involved with their kids in the schools, and they'll be involved with us when we're in those schools.
Okay. Again, the name of the program?
Again, Pathways to College. We're in East Side, Arts, and West Side. And one of the reasons we're in West Side is because Wilhelmina Holder, president of the Secondary Parents Council, she cares about the kids. She cares about the parents being involved. She made that happen. So parents being involved in the schools, backing those kinds of organizations, in the end, help organizations like ours get vetted and be brought into the system.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you for the privilege.
And we'll be right back.
And it's a great city.
Yeah, we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, great.
That helps.
Appreciate it. Yeah.